Welcome to the premiere episode of the Digital Mapmakers Academy. My name is Paul Postal, and on this channel, we're going to be taking a look at digital map making in all respects, whether it's for tabletop role-playing games. It could also be for an author who needs a map for a novel or perhaps a comic book. Could even be for real-life cartography in whatever respect that digital maps are being created. In this premiere episode, which ended up being two parts, I speak with Dag Nabbit, who is a casual map maker who makes maps for a homebrew Dungeons & Dragons game. And Dag backed the Kickstarter for Dungeon Alchemist, an AI-powered map-making application, when the campaign was launched in the spring of 2021. The Kickstarter was funded in 3 hours, raising 2.5 million euros on a goal of 45,000 euros. The beta was released in October of 2021, and on March the 31st of 2022, Dungeon Alchemist was released to the public and is now available for download on Steam. Dag became one of the moderators for the Dungeon Alchemist Discord, a growing community of Dungeon Alchemist users, and you can actually join this Discord to check out Dungeon Alchemist for yourself before you take the dive and make the purchase of Dungeon Alchemist. So again, in this episode, Dag and I take a really close look at Dungeon Alchemist, and you're about to see how powerful this application really is and how you can make a playable map in mere minutes. Enjoy. So, as I mentioned, I do have Dag Nabbit from the Dungeon Alchemist Discord on the line with me. And what we're going to be talking about today is how we got started in map making, get a little bit of his background, and then we're going to dive in and show a a pre-recorded for you demonstration of the Dungeon Alchemist program. So, Dag, just want to welcome you to the Digital Mapmakers Academy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let me, first of all, jump in with this. We're going to be talking about the Dungeon Alchemist. That's the application that we're going to be looking at today. And for you, Dag, what makes this program stand out?
One of the I can't draw at all. So one of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that even somebody that has almost zero artistic experience can make really nice looking maps.
Okay.
And the ease of use and the intuitive way that this has been put together is astounding. The assets are beautiful, they're clear, and the options, even in this early access version, are incredible. And that's the main thing that attracted me to it.
Yeah, I would agree with you because for the time that I got to play around with the program, it definitely is easy to use, and I agree with you on the assets. That's one of the things that kind of took my breath away about the assets was, to your point, how clean, how crisp they are, and they're consistent in their design, which is one thing that I did like about them. So what specifically are you using Dungeon Alchemist for?
For Dungeons and Dragons map making purposes, I'm a dungeon master for some folks, and I just wanted to be able to create some quick maps that look amazing.
Okay.
And so it's mostly for D&D.
Okay. Awesome. So how did you first learn about Dungeon Alchemist?
Oh, well, I was hunting around on the internet. I wanted to find a way to make my own maps because I do a lot of homebrew stuff. I don't do a lot of modules. And lots of times, and I'm sure a lot of the dungeon masters out there can would agree with me on this, is there's an awful lot of ad lib because you don't know what your players are going to throw at you. You don't know how they're going to react to a situation. So there was this one part where they'd been chasing some cultists, and they caught some. I thought they were just going to kill everybody off, but instead they asked if there was a way that they could do the fight but not kill anybody because they wanted to question them. Oh, great. That's a perfectly reasonable thing, but I hadn't planned on that.
Sure.
So I'm ad-libbing this interview that they're having with one of these cultists. And they said, well, where did you practice all your stuff? How did you learn how to draw the symbols? How did you learn to do the proper chants? And I said, oh, well, we practiced at this farmhouse. Oh, great. Let's go to the farmhouse. I don't have a farmhouse.
Yeah.
So
sure.
It was so great to poke around online and see the Kickstarter for this, where I could just build a farmhouse in seconds. And I could have, if I'd had this at the time,
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had to steer them some other direction. I could have just drawn a farmhouse and plopped them into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, I can share that frustration because having run my own Dungeons and Dragons games, that is immensely frustrating when you're searching on the internet trying to find a map that is going to suit your purposes. And then if it doesn't, and if you know anything about Photoshop, maybe you can go in and do some alterations to it. But by and large, I've had that same thing happen to me where my players have done something I didn't expect. And it's like, okay, guys, we're just going to theater of the mind this because you went in a direction I didn't expect and I don't have a map for this. So, yeah, I feel your pain. Yeah, so tell me, how long have you been using Dungeon Alchemist?
The beta came out in about the middle of October of last year.
Hmm.
So the second the beta came out, I was messing with it. And so, quite a while now, several months. One of the great things about Dungeon Alchemist is that the major VTTs that are out there, Roll20, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds,
Hmm.
it has exports for all those so that your line of sight and dynamic lighting doors are all set up for you. You
Yeah,
just drop them into those programs and they work.
yeah, I've messed with it in other maps I've gotten off the internet, put them in Fantasy Grounds, and having to draw these occluders by hand, like I said, gets a little tedious and time consuming. So the fact that Dungeon Alchemist will put all that in for you was huge for me, and that's one of the things that attracted me to the program. So let me start with this question. So Dag, tell me, when you've got Dungeon Alchemist open and you're making maps, what is your process? Because for myself, I tend to kind of just jump right in and just start making a map. And I know there's some people who take time to kind of plan out, what they want the map to be and its purpose. But which one is kind of your method, or are you somewhere in between?
Well, it depends. Since everything's homebrew,
Hmm.
I'm more likely to just jump in. And I don't draw anything out first. I've got this great tool. I'll draw it, and if I don't like what it looks like, I'll start over or I'll make edits to what I've currently got until I can get it to where I want it to be.
Okay, okay. For people who are new to Dungeon Alchemist, because I know the program just was recently released for public use, but what would be your first piece of time saving advice for a new user to Dungeon Alchemist?
I would start your maps small and
Hmm.
work out and work larger. You can create huge maps, but it depends on the hardware of your system as to what your computer can handle. And Dungeon Alchemist remembers the last map you worked on. So if you've got a map that's 100 tiles by 100 tiles, it may take a while for Dungeon Alchemist to open,
Oh,
depending on, once again, what your system specs are. But if you start small and build out, it seems to work a little bit better.
tell me something that you found that ended up being really cool while you were using Dungeon Alchemist.
Oh, I love the fact that when we first had it, there wasn't a lot of clipping, right? In fact, some of the bounding boxes for the assets, you couldn't put some things close to other things simply because it detected something was already there.
Hmm.
And some things you could stack, like you can put things on tables and things like that. But then we got the rock assets and the tree assets,
Hmm.
and I was putting some trees in, and I can demo this later, but I was putting some trees in, and I was able to clip a tree almost all the way into this rock, and so it looks like there's lichen growing on the rock.
Oh wow.
And I liked that, where it's not just a rock, it's you could actually show some of the leaves of the tree poking out from that rock, and it looks like there's a little bit of growth on there. It just gives them kind of a neat additional texture if you want to mess with it. And
Okay.
I liked that very much, and I'll show how that looks.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get into the demonstration. So,
Okay.
if you want to go ahead and share your screen, then we'll get
All right.
into it.
All right. Here we go.
Kind of explain to us what we're seeing on the screen right here.
Okay. This is a grid that actually, I think what I'd like to do, this is just a grid that shows you what your current grid is set up, but this is not, you don't have to be limited to what you see on the screen right here. And in
Okay.
fact, I'm going to change it right now,
Okay.
just very quickly. This is a 30 by 30, and I'm going to change it to 10 by 10 just because I want to demonstrate something very fast here.
Okay.
All right. So now it's a little bit easier to work with just because it's smaller. And what we're showing here is this very first on the left-hand side. This is for drawing the room.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that people have mentioned on the Discord side is that this takes up a little bit of real estate. So if you want to take a screenshot or something, what you can do is click on the same, like this is the draw room icon, right? And then along the top here, you have the different options for these rooms. But if you click it again, that all disappears.
Okay.
So you've got your draw rooms, and then you can add rooms, you can remove rooms, and you can edit rooms. And this is handy for changing things, and I'll get into that later.
Okay.
This next icon is for why is it not?
Do you have to make a room first?
I do. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
So this is for drawing a room, and these are the different room types you have. So there's castle and mansion and that kind of thing, and these are the sub rooms just to the right of that. So let's say you're interested in a mansion, and if you've got your AI on, you can actually turn the AI off if you don't want it to draw anything for you. But we'll leave it on here, and let's say you want to do a great hall. So I'll go ahead and draw out. I'll select all these tiles,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do a great hall. And you just click the checkbox, and it draws you a great hall.
Wow. That's
And
beautiful. That looks great.
I mean, that's not bad. I think it's pretty neat. And in fact, this is a helpful screen too. If you go over to the far right, upper right, this changes the different views. So right now I'm in 3D view.
Mm-hmm.
And from here, I can actually I can move the camera around. You push your middle mouse button down,
Mm-hmm.
just move the mouse, and you can get to different views. So Dungeon Alchemist put a bunch of columns in here, and you can edit things if you don't like them. And I'll get into that in a minute. But
Yep.
This is straight ortho view. This is just top down with
Mm-hmm.
no, this is how I remember playing D&D. It's just top down views.
Right.
But now this is perspective, and this is neat because you can actually see the walls. It gives you a sense of space, or it gives you a sense of 3D, even though it's still top down. And then the last view, of course, is the 3D view.
This is what's really cool. So I'm looking at this room you just did. I mean, you made this room in less than 10 seconds. Now, it's a little bare, but look at what it's already put in here. It's got the columns that are even. It's got a picture. It's got a stuffed deer head. I think that's a deer.
Yep.
It's got a chest in there. It's got some other furniture, like it looks like an armoire in there.
Yep.
So this is. If I was doing this map, I would put in maybe a table, some chairs, something like that, maybe 3 or 4 props, and I've got
Sure.
an instant map here.
Yep, that's right. You could do that. This far tab on the far right here, this is for editing a room. So
Okay.
you'll notice I can click on this room, and it shows what I've got: mansion and great hall. But let's say I wanted to do a bathroom instead.
Oh my gosh. Are those towels on the floor?
Yeah, they put towels on the floor. You've got, a privacy screen. Here's your tub.
That is
I don't want a
unbelievable.
bathroom. Let's do a servant's bedroom instead.
That's a big servant's bedroom.
Okay,
But
I can make it smaller.
No. I'm just looking at it. This is unbelievable because I'm loving how it's evenly spacing things out, and it's got a table in the center. Which makes sense. You would think the servants would go to that, would go to the table to eat. And then this is unbelievable. I see windows. Did it put a door in anywhere? It looks like a door in the corner, in the bottom left.
The door
looks
is right here.
Yeah.
And just, if you click on the objects window or the objects option here, I've now got this door. I can open the door if I want to, or close it. I can switch. That might not be easy to see from this, but here, I'll scoot in a little bit here. Hold on.
It looks like it's reversing the door. Is that?
Yeah, it'll reverse the door. So you can have it go from the other direction. So.
Okay.
Now it opens that direction.
I see. Okay.
Now it's open this way. So you can see
Gotcha.
how that works. But
Okay.
here's another thing you can do too. Whoops, hold on. Maybe I don't want the door there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I want the door, just not quite in the corner, and maybe I don't want that bed there.
Right. You can put it there.
Maybe what I'd rather have, maybe I'd rather have these. Maybe I'd rather have this bookshelf. Okay, why is it not letting me select that? There we go.
Yep. I think you were grabbing an individual
I,
book.
I was grabbing an individual book, is why it wasn't letting me do it.
Okay.
So you can easily edit things too.
That is, and so can you like move that window if you wanted to? Could you move that window right there?
Sure, I can move this window to here. I can move another window over here if I want. If I don't want the window, I can just pull it out.
That's unbelievable. That is
Here's a really
amazing.
cool trick. I'll show you a cool trick later. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
Um, Actually, I'll show you. Maybe I'll show you right now since we're talking about windows.
Okay.
If we want to change the room, let's go back to changing that room, right? So I click on this. Maybe I don't want a mansion at all. Maybe I want a crypt. I accidentally changed it to our festive
To gingerbread.
gingerbread house. Hold on, let me go to the crypt now.
No problem.
And it changed it to a crypt castle, or a crypt chapel rather.
Right.
And let's see, I want a dungeon in here.
This is amazing.
Now, I'm happy about this because notice how it got rid of all those windows.
Yeah.
Because dungeons aren't above ground, right? So
Right.
why would you have that? If it's underground, why are there shadows here? And it looks like these might be shadows not just because of these sconces, right?
Okay. Yeah, let's go with that. So how would you get rid of those shadows?
So you can go to the environment settings. It's the very bottom option down here. And I'll show you some of these. I just call these noon, afternoon, nighttime, and morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's at noon, but this is sort of in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And we would probably do this better for things that are more outside or above ground.
Sure.
But I'll just show you some of the different lighting. Here's a very quick one for the nighttime. And here's early morning, right?
Okay.
Let's switch to the nighttime one. Here's the thing. We shouldn't have shadows if this is underground. So there's an icon right here that we got fairly recently, which allows us to do some filtering. And that opens up a whole new set of icons that you can mess with. First of all, the sun, if I turn this, you'll notice it moves the shadows around, which is neat.
Okay.
This slider here changes the angle at which the sun is coming in, so I can make the shadows a little bit longer. If I move this towards the top, my shadows are gone.
Gotcha. So now the only shadows you're seeing are from the torches and the sconces.
That's
on the
right.
windows.
And
Okay.
you can see right down here too, this bottom pillar is showing it's showing the light from this torch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't want that torch lit. See how I've got the torch highlighted?
Yep.
I'm going to turn it off.
Wow. Okay. So that way, that is good because I've made dungeons in other programs before, or in other programs, map making programs, where I had to delete the lit one and put in, go search for and put in the unlit one. So with
Right.
this one, I can just turn it off, and that's a huge time saver.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to just turn it off or just turn it right back on again.
Yep.
And it's nice that the back side of this column is lit now because this. Oh, and these animations, we don't have it yet, but WebM is coming as one of the options for exporting so that you'll be able to, for those VTTs that support it, you'll be able to see the animations.
That's awesome. That is really cool. So let's go back to the room types if we could.
Sure.
Now, you're showing different room types. So, let's say I'm making a mansion. Do I have to make everything mansion? Can I mix and match different room types if I wanted to?
Yes, you can do that. In fact,
Okay.
why don't let me start over again.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go to a new map and I'll do it 10 by 10 again.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to the mansion and we'll just do that great hall like we did before.
Okay. Okay, but so I have a question. Okay, nice stairway, by the way. But you took up all the grid to put in the great hall. So
yes.
How are you going to show a different room?
Oh, Well, let's do this. I'll turn it this way. So
Mm-hmm.
it looks like we've got a different floor here.
Okay.
Maybe we don't want that in there. I think I
Okay.
don't want that in here for right now.
Okay.
I'll get rid of it. Okay. So here we have our mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you're right. I did take up the whole thing. You don't have to worry about that though, because even though you don't see any more grid, you can
Mm-hmm.
still select things. So let's say I've got this mansion here and I want a kitchen
Okay.
off of this room. So I just select things and it puts a kitchen in for me.
Ah, okay.
So you don't have to be bounded by what you see on the screen here. Just because those grid squares are taken, you can always add if you want to add.
That
Let's see.
is, no, that is sweet because I can't tell you how many times in other programs I have made a map and realized I didn't select the right size and I ran out
Yep.
of room. So with this, I can just add on other
Yeah.
rooms on here. This is
I
great.
just added on a lavatory just now,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see. Maybe I want to. Oh, I did that wrong. Let's say I want to add here. What would be added? What would be a good thing to add there? Oh, let's put a cellar in.
Okay. That is great. And look at here's the other thing I love too is that you didn't have to do, see how you got an odd shaped room here. So
Yes,
you didn't have to draw one rectangle and then draw the remainder of the room. You were able to draw the grid over the existing room and it didn't erase that existing room. It just put the cellar around it.
correct.
That
That way
is
it's much faster. Like, if I don't have to be really careful about this, right?
mm-hmm.
See what it does? It selects the spot that it knows there's already a room there. So you can just draw a square or a rectangle over existing stuff and it'll put it right next to where you need it to be.
Okay.
Let's put the master bedroom here just for grins.
Okay. Okay, and
Yeah.
so now you were saying you can mix and match different types. So are you using the mansion right now? What if we wanted to have a room from, say, the castle on here? Could we put a
So
castle
here's the
type?
castle,
Mm-hmm.
and let's put an armory up here.
Okay.
And it's got to think a little bit harder now because I've got more stuff, but there's
Mm-hmm.
your armory.
Okay.
It's got tons. Now, for me, my
Mm-hmm.
taste, this has got too many weapon racks here.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably, remove some of these. Or the other thing you can do, which is great, I'll select this armory. See this button right here in the middle?
Yep.
I just want to refresh the armory. Give me something different.
I see. So
I
I
still want an armory, but maybe I don't want that much stuff.
okay. Now, wait a minute. So I'm looking at the AI button. What happens if you turn the AI button off and then refresh it?
I'll turn it off, refresh it, and it just gives you this,
So you just have a blank room to just do whatever you want with.
which is great because, yes, and it takes all that stuff out. So you
Yeah.
don't have to select everything and delete it.
Wow. We're already seeing how powerful Dungeon Alchemist is, and I want to thank Daggett for taking us through this initial look at Dungeon Alchemist. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. I can promise you there's even more great content in part 2, which is going to be coming up next week. If you did like what you saw today, please like and subscribe so that way you do get notified when part 2 of this video does come out. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.